A role is a set of connected behaviours, rights, obligations, beliefs, and norms as conceptualized by people in a social situation. It is an expected or free or continuously changing behavior and may have a given individual's social status or social position. It is vital to both functionalist and interactionist understandings of society. Social role posits the following about social behavior. The division of labor in society takes the form of the interaction among heterogeneous specialized positions, we call roles. Social roles included appropriate and permitted forms of behavior, guided by social norms, which are commonly known and hence determine the expectations for appropriate behavior in these roles. Roles are occupied by individuals, who are called actors. When individuals approve of a social role, they will incur costs to conform to role norms, and will also incur costs to punish those who violate role norms. Changed conditions can render a social role outdated or illegitimate, in which case social pressures are likely to lead to role change. The anticipation of rewards and punishments, as well as the satisfaction of behaving prosocially, account for why agents conform to role requirements. The notion of the role is examined in the social sciences, more specifically economics, sociology and organization theory. Determinants and characteristics of social role. Roles may be achieved or ascribed, or they can be accidental in different situations. An achieved role is a position that a person assumes voluntarily which reflects personal skills, abilities, and effort. An ascribed role is a position assigned to individuals or groups without regard for merit but because of certain traits beyond their control and is usually forced upon a person. Roles can be semi-permanent, or they can be transitory. A well-known example is the Sikh role as formulated by Talsat Parsons in the late 1940s. In the transitory Sikh role, a person is exempted from their usual roles, but is expected to conform to transitory behavioral standards, such as following doctor's orders and trying to recover. For many roles, individuals must meet certain conditions, biological or sociological. For instance, a boy cannot ordinarily take the biological role of mother. Other roles require training or experience. For instance, in many cultures doctors must be educated and certified before practicing medicine. Role development can be influenced by a number of additional factors, including social, genetic predisposition, cultural or situational. Societal influence. The structure of society often forms individuals into certain roles based on the social situations they choose to experience. Parents enrolling their children in certain programs at a young age increases the chance that the child will follow that role. Genetic predisposition. People take on roles that come naturally to them. Those with athletic ability generally take on roles of athletes. Those with mental genius often take on roles devoted to education and knowledge. This does not mean that people must choose only one path, each individual can reprise multiple roles. Cultural influence. Different cultures place different values on certain roles based on their lifestyle. For instance, soccer players are regarded higher in European countries than in the United States, where soccer is less popular. Situational influence. Roles can be created or altered based on the situation a person is put in outside their own influence. Roles are also frequently interconnected in a role set, that complement of role relationships in which persons are involved by virtue of occupying a particular social status. For example, a high school football player carries the roles of student, athlete, classmate, etc. Role theory. Role theory is the sociological study of role development, concerned with explaining what forces cause people to develop the expectations of their own and others' behaviors. According to sociologist Bruce Biddle, the 5 major models of role theory include, functional role theory, which examines role development as shared social norms for a given social position, symbolic interactionist role theory, which examines role development as the outcome of individual interpretation of responses to behavior, structural role theory, which emphasizes the influence of society rather than the individual in roles and utilizes mathematical models, organizational role theory, which examines role development in organizations, and cognitive role theory, which is summarized by Flynn and Lee May as the relationship between expectations and behaviors. Role in functionalist and consensus theory. The functionalist approach to role theory, which is largely borrowed from anthropology, sees a role as the set of expectations that society places on an individual. By unspoken consensus, certain behaviors are deemed appropriate, and others inappropriate. For example, an appropriate doctor dresses fairly conservatively, asks a series of personal questions about one's health, touches one in ways that would normally be forbidden, writes prescriptions, and shows more concern for the personal well-being of his or her clients than is expected of, say, an electrician or a shopkeeper. Role is what the doctor does while status is what the doctor is. In other words, status is the position an actor occupies, while role is the expected behavior attached to that position. Roles are not limited to occupational status, of course, nor does the fact that one is cast in the role of doctor during working hours prevent one from taking on other roles at other times, husband-wife, friend, father-mother, and so on. Role in interactionist or social action theory. In interactionist social theory, the concept of role is crucial. The interactionist definition of role predates the functionalist one. A role, in this conception, is not fixed or prescribed but something that is constantly negotiated between individuals in a tentative, creative way. Philosopher George Herbert Mead explored roles in his seminal 1934 work, Mind, Self and Society. Mead's main interest was the way in which children learn how to become a part of society by imaginative role-taking, observing and mimicking others. This is always done in an interactive way. It's not meaningful to think of a role for one person alone, only for that person as an individual who is both cooperating and competing with others. Adults behave similarly, taking roles from those that they see around them, adapting them in creative ways, and testing them and either confirming them or modifying them. This can be most easily seen in encounters where there is considerable ambiguity, but is nevertheless something that is part of all social interactions. Each individual actively tries to define the situation. Choose a role that is advantageous or appealing. Play that role. And persuade others to support the role. Social norms theory. Social norms theory states that much of people's behavior is influenced by their perception of how other members of their social group behave. When individuals are in a state of deindividuation, they see themselves only in terms of group identity, and their behavior is likely to be guided by group norms alone. But while group norms have a powerful effect on behavior, they can only guide behavior when they are activated by obvious reminders or by subtle cues. People adhere to social norms through enforcement, internalization, the sharing of norms by other group members, and frequent activation. Norms can be enforced through punishment or reward. Individuals are rewarded for living up to their roles or punished for not completing the duties of their role. Social norm theory has been applied as an environmental approach, with an aim of influencing individuals by manipulating their social and cultural environments. It has been widely applied using social marketing techniques. Normative messages are designed for delivery using various media and promotional strategies in order to effectively reach a target population. Social norms theory has also been successfully applied through strategies such as curriculum infusion, creating press coverage, policy development, and small group inventions. Mainframe 2002. The theory of planned behavior. People display reactions by fighting against threats to their freedom of action when they find norms inappropriate. Attitudes and norms typically work together to influence behavior. The theory of planned behavior. Intentions are a function of three factors: attitudes about the behavior, social norms relevant to the behavior, and perceptions of control over the behavior. When attitudes and norms disagree, their influence on behavior will depend on their relative accessibility. Team role theory, as described in Working in Groups by Engelberg and Wynne, team role theory is when members assume roles that are compatible with their personal characteristics and skills. Dr. Meredith Belbin, a psychologist, first explored the concept of team role theory in the 1970s when he and his research team went about observing teams and wanted to find out what made teams work and what did not. According to Belbin and his research team, the research revealed that the difference between success and failure for a team was not dependent on factors such as intellect, but more on behavior. They began to identify separate clusters of behaviors and found that behavior was more influential on a team than anything else. These separate clusters of behaviors are known as the team roles. The 9 team roles are as follows: coordinator, chairperson, shaper, innovator, resource investigator, monitor, evaluator, implementer, team worker, completer, finisher, and specialist. Role conflict and role confusion. There are situations where the prescribed sets of behavior that characterize roles may lead to cognitive dissonance in individuals. Role conflict is a special form of social conflict that takes place when one is forced to take on 2 different and incompatible roles at the same time. For example, a person may find conflict between her role as a mother and her role as an employee of a company when her child's demands for time and attention distract her from the needs of her employer. Similarly, role confusion occurs in a situation where an individual has trouble determining which role he or she should play, but where the roles are not necessarily incompatible. For example, if a college student attending a social function encounters his teacher as a fellow guest, he will have to determine whether to relate to the teacher as a student or a peer. Role enhancement or role enrichment refers to a situation in which roles which are held by a person are compatible and moreover enacting one role has beneficial spillover effects on the enactment of the other role. An example which has been studied in depth is the enhancement among roles of breadwinner and caretaker. Some evidence indicates that role conflict and role enhancement can occur simultaneously, and further evidence suggests that mental health correlates with low role conflict and high role enhancement. Also, certain personality traits, in particular traits linked to perceiving and seeking greater levels of support, are associated with lower inter-role conflict and increase inter-role enrichment. Documenting roles. In business, documenting roles on process models, such as BPMN diagrams as swim lanes, is becoming common practice in large companies. This documentation helps organizations undertaking change projects to formally define the current or envisioned roles expected to be responsible for a business process. See also, gender role, social status, transactional analysis, stereotypes, character mask, social position, conflict theory, role-playing, role engulfment, role suction. References. Bibliography, Biddle, B.J. Recent Developments in Role Theory. Annual Review of Sociology 12, 67 €92 doi, 10.1146/AnnuRevSo. 12.080186.000435. Chandler, Daniel. Television and Gender Roles. 1, Goldigan, Daniel Jonah. Hitler's Willing Executioners, Ordinary Germans and the Holocaust. Vintage Books, New York, 1996. Mationis, John J. Society, The Basics. Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, Pearson Prentice Hall. Mainframe, Strategies for Generating Social Norms, News 2002. 2, Merton, Robert K. The Role Set Problems in Sociological Theory. British Journal of Sociology 8, 106 €20 doi, 10.230/587363. JSTOR 587363. Nagel, Brendan D. The Ancient World, A Social and Cultural History. Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, Pearson Prentice Hall. Smith, Elliot. Social Psychology, 3rd edition. New York, Psychology Press. Stark, Rodney. Sociology, 10th edition. Baylor University. Thomson Woodsworth, California. Time Life. The Twisted Dream. Time Life, Alexandria, Virginia, 1990.